Hello, friends. Welcome, welcome, everybody. I have the special honor of interviewing our brand new author today, Michelle Schreiner. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, good to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. We get to talk about your book and about your journey into being a children's book author. So, first of all, congratulations. Let's show everybody your book and tell them the title.
Yes, the title is Charlie and the Funky Monkeys Challenge.
Well, that already sounds like a fun book with that title. Can you tell us, Michelle, what inspired you to write this book?
Of course, this story was sparked almost a couple of years ago when I was invited to a STEM event for high school girls. And on the panel, I was asked a question. And the question was, what advice would you give your younger self? And that question sparked this memory of a research study that my team did over 20 years ago, where we debunked a gender stereotype in spatial ability. And in that research, what we found was that women are just as good as men when it comes to spatial imagination. The difference, though, was in their confidence. And so
Mm.
I wanted to write a story that tapped into the notion that kids can believe in themselves from the start and get ahead of those limiting beliefs that get instilled over the years.
Well, I'm so glad you wrote this book. And of course, it's such a fun book with a beautiful message weaved into it. So, can you tell us what is the book about and who would you say it's for?
Yes, I would say this book is about a girl. Her name is Charlie, and she visits the museum with her twin brother Oxford, and they discover a video game called the Funky Monkeys Challenge, and that tests their mental rotation skills or their spatial imagination, and it also tests their confidence. I would say that this story is for any child who encounters a challenge. I have not met a child yet who has not had a challenge. And I would say that it's also especially great for families and educators and really anyone who wants to nurture curiosity and courage.
So good. Well, like I said, it's such a fun book that takes them through their little journey and their little field trip to the museum. Actually, it's not a field trip. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, but they went to the museum. They went to the museum and they got to play together, these siblings, which adorable, adorable siblings. What is it that you hope that kids and parents will take away from the book?
My hope is that it sparks the belief that
Hmm.
courage and confidence are already inside. And for kids, I hope that they get to be seen and tap into their inner strength and power. And for parents, I hope it's a reminder that encouragement and opportunity can make a big impact on kids.
I love that you're putting this type of work out in a children's picture book because we know how important it is for children to have that belief at such a young age. Um, I just love that. I love seeing books that have not just entertain the child, but like I said, have that message, and have the opportunity for us to have those conversations with our children, with our grandchildren, with the children in our lives. Where would the world be if children, just from the get-go, if people as children started believing in themselves, right?
A
And to
thousand.
have the courage. Yes. Oh, good. So let's talk a little bit about your journey into becoming a children's book author. So, Michelle, first of all, how long have you been thinking about writing a book for or being an author for?
Oh, not even 2 years. This was not on my bingo card by any stretch of the imagination. And going back into that STEM event I was a part of, I was struck by observing the limiting beliefs already taking root among the high
Hmm.
school girls. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want this for them. And I certainly don't want this for my kids, who at the time were 4 years old. And I thought, how do we get ahead of this and how do we instill
Yeah.
this belief early and then you don't have to worry about these limiting beliefs and having to sort them out later. And so I figured, oh my gosh, I've got to write this book. and
Right.
and so that really was this pivotal moment for me. and and I did that part, and gracefully you and your team offered training, and I took the training as well. So this between the initial moment of insight and inspiration, coupled with the training and the support, really created a foundation for me to take that next step and share this with others and not just keep it to myself.
Oh, well, you're an action taker. 2 years, you made it happen. That's amazing. So talk to us a little bit about challenges and lessons that you learned. So what would you say was the biggest challenge when writing this book?
I will tell you that there's irony, irony with writing this book and then it going through an experience of writing it and then releasing it to the world. I found myself last spring, over about a year or so ago now, where I had this moment where I started second guessing myself and I started to feel fearful about what I was doing. I felt a lot of excitement and then like this fear started to sink in and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to feel this way about something that's been so joyful." And so I put the book down and I picked up a different book and it was focused on guided meditation. And I spent 3 months tapping into understanding the stories I was telling myself that was
Mm,
holding me back. And in the course of that growth and that development and the tears that came with it, my husband and I, we ended up moving our family to the suburbs, and that was a really awesome experience. And once we moved here and got the kids into school, I had this moment of clarity. And I said, I think I'm ready now, based on the work that I did. And so for me, the biggest lesson was getting over my own fears,
mhm,
my own second guesses, and tapping into my inner strength and letting go of the stories that take us off our path, that make us question who we really are. And
mm,
I was able to get to the point where I wanted just to focus on that joy again and not place any value or expectation on any outcome, but rather just focus on what I really wanted to tap into. And it's an important message. And
mhm,
I didn't want to somehow stop myself from stepping into that possibility. And
mm.
I had to work for that transformation. It wasn't overnight by any means.
Wow.
Um, so
Yes.
very grateful for that. And again, I can't help the irony of it all to write a story that taps into it and then have this experience where I'm like, oh my gosh, who do you think you are? Like, you're a
Right.
children's book author. What are you doing? To like embracing it.
Yes. Michelle, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that's really important for people to hear because I think most of us, I want to say all of us, but it's probably most of us go through that, right? When we're embarking on a new venture, like being an author, like writing a children's book. Um, and I've been sharing this lately that I heard a speaker say once, it was Rachel Hollis said, that we write the book we need for
Mhm.
ourselves. And I remember thinking to myself, she's surely talking about adult books because it's not the books we need. Except that then on my drive home, I realized my first book is titled I Can Believe in Myself. And that's what I needed. If I look back at the woman, I should say, who wrote that first book, that's what I needed. It's a bit of that irony that you're speaking about. Could we talk about that a little bit more? Because I know you're a psychologist. If somebody out is feeling like that, right? If they're embarking on a new thing like writing a children's book and they start feeling those doubts, what would you say was the most important thing that you did that helped you get through it and then start finding the joy again?
I really appreciate that question. And an older version of myself would have said, well, just push through it. And certainly that is an option, and certainly that advice is available to those that resonate with it. I think for me, I've become more interested in allowing things to be easy and not hard or a struggle. And that's a big shift for someone who has studied psychology for decades and lived and believed in the mantra that things should be hard or be a struggle. And there was an inflection point where I thought it doesn't have to be this way. And, and so pausing can be powerful,
Mhm.
and allowing yourself to ask the question, what belief am I holding on to that is eliciting this feeling? And as you tap into what those beliefs may be, then you can ask yourself another question. And that is this a belief that I want to hang on to? How is it serving me? And if
Mhm.
you're able to reach a point where you're like, actually, it's not serving me in the way I want to experience my life, then you have an opportunity to let it go and select another belief that does serve you. And so that's what happened here for me.
Mhm.
And in the context of writing this book, initially I wasn't sure, is it gonna, like, in terms of publishing, would it be
Mhm.
traditional? Would it be self? Would it be hybrid? And I was open to all three. I didn't have a particular lean until I started to exploring those paths. And like the traditional route, it started to feel like grad school in a strange way, where it's like, oh, nice story, but not this time, not for us. I'm like, okay, I've had that experience. I'm not interested in that again. And then the self-publishing route, I wasn't interested in, because trial and error, yes, there's value. I just wanted to let the process be easy. And so I landed on the hybrid model, and that's the model that you have. Um, and so I share that in part because the other element of this experience for me has been allowing community to
Mhm.
play a role and not feel like that you're alone, or that you have to do this all by yourself.
Mhm.
So, like, again, just taking a step back, pausing, becoming curious about what is the thought that is triggering this emotion. Is this what I want for myself? If yes, keep going. If no, you have an opportunity to pivot, to change, and ask yourself, what is it that you really want?
I love that. So much good wisdom. Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. Now, what would you say is the best part of accomplishing this dream of being able to hold your children's book in your hand?
I love seeing kids light up when they're reading the story. So my kids probably know the book by heart at this point. Um, so there's a chant in the story, and they've got the chant nailed down. And it's super joyful to hear them and their conviction come through. And now that I get to share this with others, I'm getting pictures from my friends and colleagues of them reading to their kids, and it does fill my heart with joy, just being able to spread a positive message and instill um, a, a strong belief in yourself.
That's so good. Well, I can only imagine what it's like for your children to have their mom as the author and they, I know you shared with me earlier that well, first of all, they know every word of the book, but that they were in the trenches with you, helping you decide on this or that, but they were very much a part of the book. That's so great. I want to stop for a moment and I want to pause for a moment, as you said, and remind our audience that the book is available on Amazon today. So make sure that you go and grab a copy of this book, grab a couple of copies. This is the type of book you should have in your car if you are going away this summer. Put it into your children's like play bag or anything. If you're going to the beach, anywhere, grab the book. They're going to love it. And it's in soft cover, ebook version, and hardcover also. Michelle, Now that you are a children's book author, and we have a lot of aspiring children's book authors who watch us, what piece of advice would you give to them?
I would say to focus on what you can control. And namely, what I'm talking about is your thoughts, your
Mhm,
energy, and your emotions.
mhm,
And by doing that inner work, that is your invitation to connect with your true self. And that true self is expansive and
mhm,
loving and powerful and wonderful. And we want to feel that. And so allowing yourself to let go of limiting beliefs that can hold you back has become the name of the game.
mm. So good. So good. I hope everybody watching is taking notes. And I know that we all have to work on ourselves, right? So definitely make a note of this, put it on a post-it, put it aside somewhere on your desk where you can start thinking, what are the thoughts? What are the limiting beliefs that are coming up for me? And then working on those. It's so, so important. I think this is going to be a valuable interview for all of our aspiring authors who are watching us, or even authors who are feeling stuck. And, because we know, right? I call it the big bad bully in our minds gets loud. So we have to find a way to silence that a little bit. So besides going to Amazon, first of all, we want everybody to go to Amazon today, grab a copy of this book. Where else can our viewers find you?
You can find me on my website. My website is michelleschreiner.com, as well as social media. So I've got my Instagram handle, LinkedIn, Facebook. It's all Michelle Schreiner underscore PhD.
Perfect. Beautiful. Michelle, before we go, is there anything else you wish I would have asked you or anything else you want to share?
I do want to finish the story that I had told myself and what I was sharing with you earlier about my journey and what happened when I was ready to pick up this book again. And so we're in the new house and I said, I think I'm ready to do this again. And I know that I don't want to do it alone and that I need a team. I need help. And I remembered from taking the CBM, so now I know the acronym. Can you help me with?
Children's Book Masterclass. Yes.
Thank you. So having taken that, I knew about the publishing master class as well, and I thought, gosh, I should look into that. And so I just picked up my phone and opened my Gmail account, and Miriam, there was no scrolling involved. The email invitation from you was right there.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, wow, well, that was really easy. And so I signed up that day and I'm very grateful to you. I'm very grateful to your team. I think of Lauren, I think of Samara and Allison. I think of Sharon. I think of my illustrator, Alan, and all these other folks who have encouraged and helped me along the way. It really has been a team effort and it has been easy and it's been so joyful. And
Mm.
I'm very grateful to you for your support, your encouragement, your training, your advice, and just for you being who you are.
Mm. Oh, thank you. Michelle, I appreciate you. It's been such a joy to have you in our mastermind group, always sharing your wisdom and always providing such great input for the rest of the authors in there. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, friends, thank you so much for being here. You know what to do. Go to Amazon, grab a copy of this wonderful book. And Michelle, we'll see you on social media.
Thanks.
Yes. Thanks. Bye-bye.